Can everybody hear us fine?
Hello? Yeah.
Hi?
Hi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's fine. So welcome everybody to this panel discussion. Yeah, we're being a bit blinded here, but
Yeah.
I guess that's the point. Okay. So we will talk about the future of interoperability, and I'm very happy to moderate. My name is Maxime Gagnebin, and I'm a research scientist at Lisk. Today with me, we have Susannah Evans, PhD, and Alessandro Riccotone, also PhD. And just to say 2 words about our panelists, Susannah Evans, so PhD in bioprinting from Cambridge, then worked for Zero Knowledge Validator, where it's a company that runs validator for different proof-of-stake networks. That triggered your interest into blockchain communication and inter-blockchain communication. And now you're product lead for IBC at Interchain. Welcome.
Thank you.
And on my right, we have Alessandro Riccotone, PhD in physics from McGill, head of research at Lisk for now almost 3 years. Welcome as well to this place that you know quite well.
Hello.
So,
thank you.
thank you. So to start off the panel, maybe just a few words to simply explain what is the concept of interoperability. Maybe starting with you, Susannah.
Yeah, so interoperability is about blockchains being able to connect and communicate with each other in a seamless way. So, yeah.
Very good definition. So maybe to build up a little bit on that. So basically, the idea is that we want to validate the state of one chain on another chain to be able to process a state transition on this chain, depending on the state of the other one. So I'm going to repeat chain a lot of times now, but that's kind of the, as you said, the summary of it. Maybe just something that I'd like to say now, because it's going to be useful later on. It's important to make a distinction, I think, between interoperability between homogeneous chains, like you could have in the Lisk ecosystem. What we mean by interoperability, meaning chains that share, the same common consensus rules, maybe the same interoperability protocol, and so on, which is also, in a sense, the case for Cosmos, like chains have to follow the IBC protocol.
Well, I mean, the first use case of IBC is for homogeneous chains that have the same consensus mechanism, but IBC can extend beyond this with different light-client implementations or using a solo machine. But I'd say within the Cosmos SDK and Tendermint-based chains, that's like the first live example of the IBC protocol being used, but there are other developments beyond that. So I think the next use case we'll see is with the Beefy light client, which is for substrate-based chains, so that will connect Polkadot and Kusama.
Right.
Yeah.
So very nice, starting with homogeneous chain, but then expanding to more heterogeneous.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, interoperability really is getting a lot of attention. There are many products that try to work on their own solution for interoperability. Would you say that this is a short-term trend, or will we see a more long-term viability for this, this topic? Maybe starting with Alessandro.
Yeah, so as you said, in the industry, the situation is quite diverse. Several players are developing their own solution, which sometimes can be also quite different. So in this sense, interoperability, the story that we always hear is that it's the solution to the scalability problem. You try to go wide, in a sense, right? So you have several chains that can work in parallel and then communicate with each other whenever they need to, right? So in this sense, of course, we need interoperability, and it's not going to be a short trend. But also, just because in the future, we do not know which of these players will be, winning the blockchain world. If we're going to have a situation where several players are still present, maybe with their own specific use case, and in this case, you really want them to be able to communicate with each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like the only reason you'd ever consider it to be a short-term consideration is if you actually believe there's just going to be like one blockchain to rule them all, which I think it's pretty clear that that's not going to happen, and it's clearly not the case. Like, there's so many different layer ones and different like application-specific blockchains out there that it's clear that it's not just going to be, you know, one blockchain. And so all of these different blockchains are really going to need to communicate with each other, which is the core of interoperability. So, yeah, I definitely don't think it's a short-term consideration.
Maybe on that topic, could you explain a bit why is it so useful to have multiple chains and to have interoperability between those chains?
Well, I mean, different blockchains might serve different purposes, so they may like excel in one thing. I mean, in the Cosmos ecosystem, the idea is that you have application-specific blockchains which are tailored to be really good at whatever application they're trying to do. And I think this is kind of thinking like not just in the blockchain industry. Like, I think lots of small pieces connected together, at least from my background, seems to work more effectively than having like one massive piece that's more like slow and inefficient. So I think by having things which can be tailored to be specific to a specific application and then allowing them to communicate better, it gives a bit more agility, and you can be like developed in the best direction for the specific application. So I think it's just going to be important for like from an end user's perspective, because you're going to get better utility from each of those blockchains rather than having one thing which is trying to do everything and maybe not succeeding in doing all of those things well.
Yeah, thank you very much for this answer. Would you say this is also the reason that Lisk has gone for this interoperability route?
I mean, definitely we're in a similar situation where chains in our ecosystem are supposed to implement a specific application. But to link back to what you said, I think this was also one of the original reasons of interoperability, this agility that you said, like being able to play around with your chain where, you know, maybe there is not so much value stored, destroy it, crash it, get in hacked, whatever. Eventually somebody is going to develop a good chain with a good application, and interoperability gives this independence between chains so that really you are able to experiment as much as you want without, you know, doing it in a production critical chain, for instance.
And so, expanding on this, developing a blockchain project or developing a smart contract, like we also just saw in the last talk, is extremely difficult, and there are lots of things that could go wrong. We have also seen in the news quite a few hacks in the recent months. Could you talk a bit about the challenges that go into developing an interoperability solution, and how would you say that are the best way to tackle those challenges? Maybe Susannah, if you want to go first.
Well, I guess there's firstly like a technical challenge that all of these different blockchains are different and unique. So they're not like by default speaking the same language, and yeah, there isn't interoperability by default. So that's just a technical challenge in ensuring that, you know, a blockchain with a virtual machine over here can communicate with this blockchain written in another programming language. And then beyond just that kind of baseline challenge, I think when we think of interoperability, people are often thinking of like bridges, for instance, which is, I mean, like it's where there's been like a lot of exploits seen. That's why I think interoperability might get like a bad reputation. But so with like these kind of interoperability bridge designs, there seems to always be trade-offs between like security or like speed of your transaction going from one blockchain to another, and generally like how far the interoperability protocol can go. And like you might have to then do like use multiple different interoperability protocols to get to your end destination. So like that's kind of like a constraint of how far that protocol is actually going to take you. So yeah, it's like, I think there's constantly these trade-offs that people are having to consider. And I think a lot of people go for like the quick and easy solution of like using a multi-sig, for instance, which is like easiest to deploy, but I think it's just the inferior solution. Like, I mean, the biggest exploit was Ronin Bridge, which was like a 5 of 9 multi-sig, I think, and $625 million is lost through that like easy and quick bridge design. So yeah, I think there's always these trade-offs that need to be considered, but I think there's some which you shouldn't really trade off with, but, you know, that's my opinion.
So somehow trading some security from some scalability, but making sure not to go too far in that direction,
Yeah.
And it's also trading, apart from scalability, for ease of implementation, as you said, right? Because, of course, again, what we were saying before, you have to import the state of a certain chain to your chain. And in doing so, you know, if your chain are heterogeneous, you need to build a protocol that is understood by both chains. And in many cases, this could be challenging. Or, as you said, a quick and dirty solution, have a multisig. Everybody knows how to make multisigs. But in that case, you trust these intermediaries that more often than not, are really the weak point in the interoperability chain, in the bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, and so here you have a whole game of trying to incentivize those intermediaries so that they would keep on behaving in the same way that they should, and so that the whole network as a whole like stays secure, right?
Well, I guess like when I'm thinking about like the trade-offs and security assumptions, like using a multi-sig bridge is using like a separate security assumption than the underlying blockchains themselves. This is just trusting. I mean, in the case of Ronin, there were 9 trusted parties, and it only required 5 of them to make a transaction. So therefore, the trust assumptions is based upon these 5 people rather than the underlying trust assumptions of the blockchain themselves.
And in that particular case, weren't even 4 of those signatures held by the same entity somehow?
Yeah.
I think one was in an open API. I mean, I don't want to say something that I get sued for later on, but there was some extra.
Yeah, I mean, you're always reading like stories of like different projects which have like a single like controller of a specific contract or something like this, which is like kind of goes against the ethos of like decentralization in blockchain anyway. But I mean, it's just like a security risk in itself.
For sure.
But I think like it seems like the interoperability solutions that like, we're more concerned with don't use these kind of trust assumptions because like, you know, we've realized that that's not the optimal solution. But deploying things like a multi-sig bridge is a lot easier than, you know, programming a light client, which is going to be checking the consensus state of the counterparty chain that you're sending transaction to. So that's the trade-off, like getting something to market quickly versus something that's solid and secure. Yeah,
and that will also stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And so to go in that direction and talk about those 2 specific projects, so maybe starting with you, Alessandro, could you compare the solution that Lisk is trying to implement compared to other projects, or to compare to the one that we just talked about with a just fixed multi-signature bridge?
Yes, so maybe as an introduction, I like introductions. I think among several solutions for interoperability, 2 of the main ones that are nice to compare and contrast with each other are certificate-based solution versus sharded state machines, basically. So certificate-based solution, you know, in a nutshell, you have a collection of chains that work independently from each other. They have an independent consensus layer, independent set of validators that validate blocks and update the blockchain, and can revert the chain if necessary. In a sharded state machine, instead, you have the situation where all chains, call them parachains for Polkadot if you want, or shards for Ethereum, they kind of share the same state and the same set of validators on the main chain. So in this sense, Cosmos and also Lisk are certificate-based solution. And the idea there is that, to go back to the security assumption again, the security assumption is based on having, I'm going to talk in broad terms here, security on both sides. So you have to trust validators from one chain and validators from the other chain. In a sharded state machine, all validators are just the same set, so you have a single point of failure if you want. I mean, it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it with these words, let's say. For Lisk specifically, we implemented interoperability. Again, currently it's only for chains within our network, so they are developed using the Lisk SDK. And the way in which we do this, it's by implementing an interoperability module that you can include in your application layer, basically, like any other module, like the token module. And this interoperability module will provide you the basic functionalities that you need to communicate information about your state to other chains. And the paradigm is really just that of having certificates containing the state root of your chain, so a condensed version of your state, which is cryptographically authenticated, signed by validators, and posted on the other chain. So the other chain trusts this set of validators because technical reasons. And together with this, state root commitment, if you want, you can post all the necessary information that you need to process the state transition on the receiving chain based on the state of the sending chain. So this is, in a nutshell, what we do. So one interoperability module, you add it to your chain, and then you can join the network.
So yeah, maybe before going into more comparisons, Susannah, could you also talk a little bit about the Cosmos solution or the IBC solution?
Yeah.
And how it compares?
Yeah, so the IBC is basically made up of two components. You've got the transport layer and the application layer. So the transport layer is concerned with getting the data from one chain to the other, and the application layer is concerned with what you do with the data when it's sent to that chain. So two important parts of the transport layer are the relayers and the light clients. So the relayer is it's a permissionless role, anyone can be a relayer, but often specific, actors like other validators might want to be relayers, but it's permissionless, anyone can be a relayer.
And so, would you get incentivized for being a relayer?
So currently, the way that relayers are funded is through a number of different mechanisms. Sometimes blockchains will pay relayers directly for providing a service, or they might give out grants or reimburse the fees on either side of the blockchain for submitting these transactions. But actually, we're launching, it should be ready this summer, a fee middleware. So you can then basically add this to channels, and then this will pay for a packet to be sent from one blockchain to another. But that will be live shortly, but it's not quite live yet. So currently it's through other means, not directly on-chain. But so to go back to, you have the relayers and the light clients. So the relayers are kind of observing for whether a message on a sending chain has been sent, has been decided to be sent, and wants to be sent to the receiving chain. And then the relayer will submit a proof to the light client on the receiving chain to check that this message is valid and was actually sent. And then once they confirm that, then they'll send the message, the data packet, which is just opaque to the relayer. It's just bytes. They'll send that to the receiving chain. And then the application module on the receiving chain will decode this data packet and do whatever it's meant to be done with it. So the most common application that's currently used is token transfer. So there's a specific module which will take this packet and transfer the token, lock tokens on one chain, and then have them sent to the other chain. But this is just the kind of standard use case for interoperability. I mean, there's so many other cases. There's sending data from an Oracle chain in the case of band protocol, and recently launched is interchain accounts where you can control an account on one blockchain from another chain through sending messages. And there's other things coming as well, cross-chain queries and NFT transfer. But so not just token transfer, it's basically just a generic message sending protocol.
You can trigger any state transition in the other chain by sending a generic message that contains the instructions directly.
Yeah. So basically just dependent on what is in the application module, you can have lots of different use cases.
You could trigger a smart contract execution directly from another chain, for instance.
Yeah, with interchain accounts. Yeah.
And you would just need that the sending and the receiving chain know about this module or this feature set, and so they can create the necessary request.
Yeah, so you'd have to have the module on both chains, and then you'd have to have this authentication module for one chain to be controlling the other chain, but it's a functionality which is possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is very similar to also Lisk solution, right? Where you can add modules to your sidechain, and then if you have a common module between two sidechains, you can exchange messages for this module.
Yes. Basically, I think something that we don't do is registration of channels specifically, because I think you do module-to-module channel registration before being able to communicate, right? To be sure that you really...
Yeah, so for a specific application, you will have like one channel between the two chains, which is, so say if I had between two chains, I'm sending a specific token, there would be like a dedicated channel for that specific application.
So that packets in
each
channel are basically only, I think it's a, how do you say? Like it's a queue, like you first have to process packets in order. You have to process packets in order in the channel, or?
So channels can be ordered or unordered.
Okay.
It's dependent on the specific application.
But the queue is per channel, basically, rather than being just a...
Yeah, but so for a specific application use case, you will have one channel open, which all the packets for that specific application will go on that channel.
Okay. So sorry, hijacking of it, but the processing is not necessarily in the same order in which the packets were emitted, but rather if packets are emitted for different channels, or rather...
Well, so that depends on the specific channel.
Okay, you can decide.
As to whether you want to have an ordered or unordered channel.
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice. So maybe just to conclude this comparison question, if in one sentence you could both, let's say, compare your project to the Ethereum sharding solution, what would you say would be the main takeaways that would promote your project? Yeah, maybe if you want to start.
Guest first.
Well, the whole idea behind having IBC connecting all of these sovereign blockchains that are application specific is so that each blockchain has more autonomy. So as we mentioned before, they can upgrade their blockchain whenever they want. It's not dependent purely on Ethereum. So there's more agility and sovereignty for each blockchain to do what they want to do, and each blockchain can customize for a specific application. So for example, Osmosis is the largest decentralized exchange in the Cosmos ecosystem, and they have plans to customize the consensus layer so that they would use threshold decryption, so that then basically you only reveal the contents of a transaction when it's actually executed. So this is kind of a front-running minor extractable value resistance solution, because this is a DEX and it has loads of liquidity pools. So it would be a specific use case which is important for that blockchain, but for a blockchain which doesn't have a DEX on, doesn't really matter so much. So why would you need that? So I think the main benefit is to say all of these blockchains can be tailored for a specific application, but they're still all connected and seamlessly integrated with each other. Whereas Ethereum, you have a very large blockchain, and you don't get to make those kind of you can't just decide to upgrade the Ethereum blockchain. That's not possible.
Much more difficult.
Yeah.
Yes, I would maybe say something similar. And again, it's going back to the previous comparison, right? At the end, it's a matter of trade-offs. We're trading agility, scalability also in a sense, because the network can grow. I won't say arbitrarily large, but we have a different sense of scalability, let's say. So and the trade-off.
You would say the scalability for Lisk would be greater than the one for sharded Ethereum?
I would say in general versus sharded machines, certificate-based blockchains are more scalable in the sense that you can have more chains participating in the network, just because you have more validators, if you want, at the bottom line, right? So instead, in Polkadot or Ethereum, at the end, the set of validators is centralized, so they can only run so much code for each block. And so I would say we also took that trade-off in terms of scalability versus I don't want to say security because it's not necessarily true, but in terms of centralizing validation and consensus. Let's put it this way.
Okay, thank you. So maybe to continue, so this topic has seen a lot of hype recently, and there are lots of efforts to promote it and to improve it. So in your mind, or in your opinion, what is the most exciting area that the interoperability is going into, and how do you see this coming along in the future? Maybe starting with Alessandro this time.
Yeah, so on a personal level, I'm just excited that our hard work in the last year and a half, will see the light of day. All the effort that we put into specifying the interoperability protocol is currently being implemented. As Ishan said, we tagged the first alpha version. And I'm just excited that this is going to be actually there, and people are going to use it. In terms of the general direction of the industry, again, I think this is a necessary step that we have to take. And future will tell what will be the killer app for blockchains, right? Apart from interoperability. But I think the interoperability is going to play a role in this, just because I really think that we will, as you said before, we will not have the blockchain that fits all solutions, but rather have a very diverse field. And it's like the World Wide Web, in a sense, right? You have computers that are good at something, programs that are good at something else, and when you put them together, you create something emergent and completely new. And I think that is really what excites me the most.
All right. And from your side?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's similar. I mean, I think I'm slightly biased that obviously I have more of a vested interest in IBC personally. So obviously I'm excited about the new use cases of IBC that's coming. So yeah, and I think something that excites me the most is not just having IBC within the Cosmos ecosystem. I think the Beefy client implementation to connect IBC to Polkadot and substrate-based chains is really exciting for me. Just think having a kind of just a more of a universal transport layer is just exciting to see actually panning out. And
okay.
Yeah.
So maybe a bit more of a controversial question now. So I think you're both saying that what's really exciting is IBC or Lisk interoperability, and the fact that chain will communicate, and that this communication will also expand across ecosystem in the future. So then my question is, how important will be the base layer 0 chain in the end? So the Lisk main chain or the Cosmos main chain. Once everything is set up, maybe you could have a few words on this.
Yeah. Well, I think if the end goal is kind of a world of blockchain mass adoption, no one will actually really care what blockchain they're actually using. I think a metric of success in the blockchain space will be when people are just using the blockchain without realizing they're using the blockchain. So at the end of the day, I don't think people will, especially for a mass market, I think in general, we kind of probably all agree that the user experience of blockchain generally is pretty dire. And you can't just tell your mum to oh, just send me whatever this token. It's not so simple. And especially if you're telling your mum to send me this token from one blockchain to another, it's basically not going to happen. Unless you've got a really, tech-savvy mum. But not that my mum isn't. But yeah, I think it's just the user experience is not good. And even for people that work in the space and interact with blockchain, you can still come across difficulties in doing what you want to do. It's not, I don't think it's simple or easy. So I think success will look like not even having to worry about addresses or things like this, which aren't really human friendly. So I think people in the end state, shouldn't care about that kind of thing. It should just work. And like the internet, you know, it just works.
Should just work.
Yeah.
Next slide, so you put should just work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the dream. It's true that when you connect to the internet, you don't care to which server you're connecting or where your website is hosted or all those kind of things. Yeah.
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 Would you be of the same opinion? I'm pretty sure.
I completely agree with you. And what you said, especially like that, you know, at the end, it's going to be abstracted away for the user if ever this becomes successful. And of course, the key here is bringing it to the same experience level as paying with your banking app or whatever you use, but with the, you know, security, decentralization properties of blockchains, which is kind of what we are trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we're working very hard to make blockchain disappear.
Well, to become invisible, but not disappear.
Don't disappear, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is different.
Yeah, it's slightly different.
Can do questions, I guess?
Yes, definitely. We could do some questions from the audience. We have a few minutes. So, any questions? We have a mic here that can go around. And
one question, just to make sure I really got the grasp of the whole idea here, is when we were discussing before the bridges and exploit of those bridges, the solutions that you are now presenting would come to replace those bridges?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, yes, thank you. I hope everybody got the question. So, basically asking if the exploits that we had about the bridges would be mitigated because we would replace those bridges by stronger solutions. So maybe, Susannah, if you want to answer this question.
So I'd say, like, in the long term, yes. Like, the reason why you have, like, well, in my perspective, why multi-sig bridges and stuff exist is because it's just easy to deploy them, and you might need to move tokens from one chain to another, or you might want to connect your chain to Ethereum or whatever. But I think long term there are much better solutions. Like, our solutions could serve this purpose, for instance. So yeah, I do think that's like the long-term intention. So
you could really think about it in terms of replace multi-sigs with light clients. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have a particular problem with this type of bridges of nowadays is that for me there is no transparency on how long it will take for the bridge to complete. So you send money to one wallet on one chain, one blockchain, and you don't know when it's coming on the next one. Some of them even put like alpha forever. So if something bad happens, your money disappears and you don't know. You cannot complain. How transparent would be those new solutions that you were just discussing for the end user?
So maybe Alessandro, if you want to jump on this one.
Sure. Again, first rule is to be careful and know what you're doing, of course, like in everything. So at the end, with interoperability, there is something you cannot escape, again, is that you are trusting different parties, right? To be sure that your transaction is actually happening from one chain to the other. You're trusting the validators on chain A and the validators on chain B. So if you cannot trust the validators on chain B, I mean, it's not going to work ever. Like, that's really something that you have to assume that somebody's not agreeing with me. But and instead of, maybe if I understood your question correctly, in terms of timing, like how to be sure that eventually your transaction is going to show up on chain B, was that the question?
Yeah, if I could tell how long it would take, because I can see my funds or my tokens going from my wallet to the next wallet in this blockchain, but I don't know after it changes the blockchain, what's the process, what step the transaction is. So it can take 10 seconds, 10 minutes, I have no idea.
That depends on a lot of factors, like block time on both chains, or in the Cosmos ecosystem with IBC, but also for us, when you have these relayers, you have to wait for a relayer to do it. But as Susannah explained, like, you could be your own relayer if you really want. So you have some degree of control over that, right? Like, you can make it happen because you can always post your own transaction in the other chain. To have a system that works seamlessly, what you really want probably is to many people pool resources together so that a relayer can submit a bunch of transactions all together, getting a discount on the fee. So in that sense, you have more complex systems like fee incentivization and so on. So it really depends on a lot of factors, let's put it this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the time it takes is like a function of the bridge design, but I guess like the thinking is, yeah, you'd have to have like the block time on both sides, and then the time for like, with IBC's case, the relayer to actually like send the data from one blockchain to another. And I mean, for the case of IBC, it's like often like not more than a minute, like could be between like 5 to 30 seconds, something like this.
But does the end user has visibility on that? Like, do you send back, like, this is your transaction ID, you can check there on the new chain?
Well, when you like get the transaction hash, you'll be able to put it in an explorer and check that it was executed. But yeah, I think like the concept that you raised of like self-relaying with IBC, like in theory, you can just relay your own transactions, so then you have total autonomy over like how quickly you want to like send your own message. And this is something that is in development, of having like a TypeScript-based client so that you can relay your own transactions. But
yeah, because probably in the end, the normal flow would be that you wait for the pooled relayer to just move your transaction without you having to do anything. But your wallet could also offer functionality where you just click and say, I want instant relaying, and then you take care of the relaying. But then you would have to pay the transaction fee yourself, but it would be as fast as you wish, probably. Yeah.
Thank you.
I see that we are out of time, so I will thank again Alessandro Riccotone from Lisk and Susannah Evans from IBC and from Interchain, I'm sorry. And I think you will stay with us for a little while to have some food and drinks, and so everybody is very welcome to ask any further questions to them at that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maxime.